troops for health and construction-related tasks in a planned peacekeeping mission in Gaza. The country, which is the world's most populous Muslim nation, is part of discussions with the United States alongside Azerbaijan, Egypt and Qatar for a multinational stabilization force. A draft proposal from Washington outlines plans for the force to demilitarize Gaza, secure its borders, protect civilians and support humanitarian aid. However, Indonesia has yet to confirm whether its troops will be deployed or the exact mandate they will operate under. Indonesian Defense Minister Sajfri Syamsuddin says the mission will focus on health and infrastructure and that the decision on troop deployment is still pending. Indonesia has long supported a two-state solution and condemned violence in Gaza. Any deployment would require a UN Security Council mandate, with Indonesia prepared to contribute up to 20,000 troops if approved. Joining us now is Major General Sudar Kaji. He is a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert, and he joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. It's a pleasure to have you. Of course, questions are being raised over who will be part of this force, who will contribute their peacekeepers, who will Israel be happy with, who will the rest of the region be happy with. Now, Indonesia says its peacekeepers will focus here on health and infrastructure. Does this signal that Jakarta expects a long-term stabilization mission on the ground here?
Thomas, good evening. Thank you. There is a lot of meaning and substance behind Indonesia's articulation. However, in international jurisdiction, in a conflict zone like Gaza, mere health and normalcy, law and order is not enough. One has to be prepared for any kind of eventuality that may crop up out of the blue. For example, there may be peace now, but a minute later it may turn out to be violent. So therefore, any peace board which comprises of multinational representations has to come under the United Nations flagship, and the United Nations flagship has got different charters, from Charter 1 to Charter 7, Charter 8. Charter 7 also empowers the United Nations representatives to exercise control by enforcing law and order. So when the enforcement law is imposed, then one should be mentally and physically trained and prepared to ensure that they have to fight and bring normalcy in a combat situation. So if that happens, then perhaps to the best of my understanding about Indonesia's articulation would be, falling flat, and it will raise lots of questions than giving answers. Back to you, Thomas.
Yeah, is there any point in history that we can kind of compare this to when it comes to this kind of like international stabilization force in such a hostile place like, of course, Gaza is, and of course the withdrawal of Israeli troops is expected to happen as well. Once those international troops do go in, however they may be, what is it likely to be like on the ground, and how will these troops maintain order and peace?
Excellent, Thomas. You have put the finger on the right issue. I have been a military observer in Sierra Leone when things were really out of hand. Situation in Congo, situation in South Sudan. There are many examples in, I would say, Lebanon. Here in Israel itself, I would say, along the borders of Lebanon, the UNIFIL itself. So in multiple occasions, it has been always warranted and expected that the United Nations force must always be empowered in keeping with the prevailing circumstances in the environment. And depending on the emerging situation, the empowerment should be subjected to revision from time to time. Merely to say that stabilization forces physical presence itself is going to be good enough I'm sorry, it is not going to be that easy. I have been myself in a very, very hostile situation like Sierra Leone. Despite everything being in our favor, when Sanko was being pushed around by Charles Taylor from Liberia, there was a very hostile and I would say very volatile situation. Despite being under the control of the ECOMOG, the things just went out of the blue, out of control, and people who were supposed to give us protection, they laid down the arms, went back to Nigeria and ECOWAS countries. So that was the kind of hostility and the volatility. So Israel is known for extremes and intense environments of hostility and volatility in the world order today. Therefore, it must have matching authority and powers to ensure stabilization of the situation. When you talk about the stabilization of the situation, one should be mindful of the fact that what the situation is. Situation is not diplomacy and dialogue. Situation is, exchange of fire. Kinetic components are being exchanged time to time.
Yes.
Despite all assurance and the commitment for peace and normalcy, you still have, both the sides firing at each other. So therefore, in such kind of circumstances, I personally feel that it has to be much more than what is indicated in the statement of Indonesia.
Yes, Major General Sudakaji, do stay with us for further stories, but thank you very much for bringing us your insight on that unfurling situation in the Middle East. We now move over to the United Kingdom front.